What we uncovered when we took that global snapshot of what the state of play in with data for the construction industry was, there's a lot of room for improvement. 4 out of 5 construction companies could actually significantly improve their data capabilities. But also, the carrot is that there's a big data dividend or from essentially improving your capabilities. Businesses that improved their data capabilities actually saw a 50% increase in their average profit growth.
50%. Wow.
So increasing from 4.4 to 7.1.
All right. Well, we need to start singing that from the rooftops as far as the ROI, because there's clearly a business case with data, and I've been talking about this topic for a really long time. We've done other research projects, and it always uncovers the same thing. There's a lot of decision paralysis behind what are we going to do? How do we make those changes? But when we start highlighting the benefits and showing what those companies that are doing a really good job are actually getting, the ROI is starts to be very obvious. Even if that starting point where you get and you go, okay, how do we start making our data strategy? It takes a little bit to get to. I think the long tail of it is very easy to convince somebody once you get into the data, as you've astutely pointed out today. So as we got into the findings more, can you tell me what was the most surprising for you, and how did those different response types and the data literacy they were experiencing, how did that impact the outcomes they had?
So what we did for this report, it was ambitious. We wanted to create a comprehensive measure of data capabilities. So it's called intuitively the Data Capabilities Assessment Framework, or the DCA.
I like that. These are right on the nose of what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. No misinterpretation there. So we used the survey responses from those 1,300 construction leaders, and we essentially used 13 key indicators to categorize those businesses into beginners, emerging, and leaders. And what we found was that essentially, like I said, 4 out of 5 were in those two categories, but 20% were actually in the first category, the beginner stage. And so there's a significant benefit from uplifting their data capabilities.
And I think that's when you really get to sell that focus point. And in the research that I've done in the past or been part of, when we really start having that conversation, the shift is when you start picking those focus areas. And so it's hard to step back and look at a data strategy and say, okay, we didn't standardize anything and we're not leveraging this well. Let's do everything. Like that's overwhelming. That's hard to jump into and step back and say, okay, I know where I need to start and go. But when you get to focus that and you go, okay, this is the area where we can make the fastest improvements because our team is excited or already improved, then you get to build on that. So it's not just do everything at once. Like, pick smart and then kind of evolve your data strategy from there. And 20% of the folks out there listening right now, it sounds like could make a big improvement on their profit margins if they make a few small decisions today.
Definitely. Look, we actually used those 13 key indicators and broke them down into 3 different pillars. One was the data strategy itself, as you were sort of mentioning. The other was around the data tools. So how much data you're collecting, how much are you analyzing, and how much you're actually using to inform decision making. And that's one of the key differences that separated the leaders from the beginners as well. There's a few different elements, and the third one was around data talent. And data talent is exceptionally important. On average, construction businesses that we surveyed actually had relatively high scores for data strategy, but where they were missing or where they could improve was around their data use and around their data talent.
And I think that's actually another area that I'm really excited about within the industry as well, because you're starting to see more of these roles show up. And the value of having a data strategy or a data scientist on your team who doesn't necessarily have a construction background, but they have such a tremendous value that they can bring to your team in helping you really think through, okay, what can we do with the data and what do we need to do to get our data in a place to do that aspirational vision? Because I've heard more often than I'd like, folks will get into their strategy and they won't really think through what do you want from this? It's just gather for the sake of gathering, and making sure you understand that intent helps you define your data standards. It helps the way you capture it, the amount you capture it. So there's so many nuances that get into it.